Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of the Generation GC podcast, talking about the Outfield with Kait Kunzman from 18th and Addison. Kait and I have a really fun conversation coming up for you, but before we get into that, I just wanted to share a few things because this episode was recorded back in March. First, thank you to everyone who's continued to support the show, whether you are donating on Anchor or whether you're just interacting on social media. It is so much fun for me to talk to people about the podcast and to talk to people about Good Charlotte. I love talking about the band, whether it's in an official capacity on the show or just chatting, and I love hearing what you guys think of the podcast. So please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out. It's Generation GC Pod, P-O-D, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also send me an email, generationgcpod@gmail.com. I am always looking for new guests for the show, so if you have any idea of people you might like to hear on the show, or if you yourself would be interested in coming on to talk about your favorite Good Charlotte song, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. You can listen to the show on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Overcast, or any other apps that, scan Apple. The podcast is also now available on YouTube. This should reach people in a whole lot of different countries, but if you have any other suggestions of where people might want to hear this podcast, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. If you like this show and you want to support it, you can donate on Anchor. You absolutely do not have to do this, but if you do choose to support Generation GC, please know that this does help sustain all future episodes, and it helps me ensure that they are the best that they can be. Making sure that I can, have things like the right software and equipment, good microphones, headphones, and things like that. I am working on the audio quality and editing, definitely been a big learning process, but I'm hoping to continue improving. Your support for the show also helps me do things like print stickers. If you support the show, please email me or send me a DM with a screenshot of your support as well as your mailing address so I can make sure you get some stickers. If you are not a supporter of the show on Anchor, but you still wanted to get some stickers, let me know. You could Venmo me like $1 to cover the shipping and printing costs of the sticker itself, and just send me your address so I can make sure you get some stickers. Once I build up the supporters and we get to 10 people supporting a show with a $4.99 or more donation every month, I am going to start doing monthly donations to charities. I think it's really important to give back, so, let me know what causes you would want to help support. I know there's a lot of people and a lot of organizations and causes that could really use help right now. Thank you for sticking with me, sticking with the show. Please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast provider and rate and review it, and please share it with a friend. I want to hear from you guys. Please stay in touch. Please reach out. Thanks for tuning in, and now on to episode 7 of Generation GC. Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Generation GC podcast. My guest today is Kait Kunzman. She's one half of the duo 18th and Addison from New Jersey.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last week, we talked about 1979 from Cardiology. We also got a little mini episode, our first bonus episode in between. Next week, we're going to talk about a song from Generation RX. Kait, hello.
Hi. I'm so happy we're doing this.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have so many people to talk to Good Charlotte about.
Yeah, well, regardless of who thinks they were or not, they are definitely a staple in a lot of people's lives as musicians or non-musicians, either way. So
yeah,
you can't deny Good Charlotte.
No, you really can't. So we are talking today about The Outfield, which is track 9 on their 6th studio album, Youth Authority. It was not a single, so the first time you heard it was when the album came out, and Youth Authority, of course, was their first album post-hiatus, once they had reunited. But, they've played this song live a bunch, and I think it captures a lot of what's special about Good Charlotte.
For sure.
So, Kait, Emily Burke at Waldman Management connected us. I had reached out to both her and Scott about this podcast, and I said, hey, you know, do any artists that you work with, are any of your artists Good Charlotte fans? And Emily said that you had a long history with Good Charlotte. So
I do, yeah.
we were in touch, and I asked which songs from Youth Authority that you'd want to talk about, and you said The Outfield. So why did you pick this song?
I thought it was a standout track on the record. I mean, the whole record as a whole, I thought was a really good comeback record. I mean,
yeah.
if you were awaiting a Good Charlotte reunion or, you know, revival.
Oh, I was waiting for it.
I was dying for it.
Oh my God.
This was definitely not disappointing by any means. I know like right before this, they were struggling a little bit to kind of like find that sound that they kind of always had, or like that connection. Yeah. But when I heard this record, both my husband and I, Tom, the other half of the band, we fell in love with it. But the Outfield in particular, I don't know, I just connected to it very well. I think Benji sings a lot of it, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe he does too.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Benji fan of you know, all his songs that he sings. I think he's a great singer. You know, as a longtime Good Charlotte fan, you can kind of always tell when one of them, you know, when they switch it up or whatever. So I don't know. There's a lot about this song that I fell in love with right away.
Yeah. No, this, I think, I mean, really probably since this album came out, like if anyone asks me, like, what are my favorite songs, like my 3 favorite songs, and if you've asked me that anytime in the past, I guess like 3-4 years since this album came out, you know, I would say The Outfield by Good Charlotte, and I would mention, you know, I'd probably say The Outfield by Good Charlotte, Anna Sun by Walk the Moon, and The Bridge by Pentimento.
Nice. Good list.
Yeah, and this, to me, it's captures, I mean, like I said in the intro, it captures a lot of what I think was so exciting about Good Charlotte at that time. And we're going to obviously dive so much more into The Outfield and the reunion and this album, but I want to know more about this long history with Good Charlotte, Kate. When did you first hear them, and what was like your first thought on Good Charlotte?
I want to say probably 2003 was when I first listened. I'm 28 now, so
me too.
I was maybe 11. I don't know, and I remember my dad. Like, I don't even know when I first heard of them. I probably heard of them through like other bands. I mean, I was into like Green Day, Sum 41, and obviously like Simple Plan at the time was obviously around at the same time. So I can't recall the exact moment that like I found their records or found their music, but I remember the second I did, I instantly fell in love with it. Like to the point where like I was sleeping outside of Tower Records, like in a space, you know, blanket with my dad and my best friend, and waiting to get, you know, the meet and greet, and we were like, you know, let in, and then there was a cutoff, and thank God we made it in because.
So you got the meet and greet?
Yeah, we got the meet and greet.
Oh my God! So
it was packed.
When was this? Like what album?
It was Chronicles.
Okay.
It was later, but that was definitely one of the craziest things I've done for this band.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, like my dad was a awesome dad who took me to shows, thank God. So he was always like front row with me when I'd go. I was laid up for a while with like a foot injury where I was in a cast, and then you know, crutches, and like we literally still go to Good Charlotte shows.
My dad brought me to a Good Charlotte show when I was 6 weeks post knee surgery, and I don't think I was on crutches, but I had like a big knee brace.
Yeah, we do what we got to do to see our band.
so wait, did you ever see them at Starland?
Oh yeah, of course. I actually saw them a couple of times at Starland, and then they even played a show at Tom's old high school. Them and a couple other bands came through
in Tom's River.
Yeah,
because I think I remember that years and years ago, hearing about this Good Charlotte show in Tom's River, and I like so desperately wanted to go, but I ended up seeing them not too much later than that in Philadelphia, and that was the first time.
It was a cool time to see them like at that show. I think they only did there once, but it was, I think, right before Chronicles was coming out, so they actually played some like newer songs that day, and obviously we didn't know what they were at the time, so it was kind of cool once they did come out to kind of see the real finished product, which was cool.
Yeah.
And they're in your hometown. It's even cooler. So.
Oh, yeah. So you are in the band 18th and Addison with your husband, Tom. So how long has 18th and Addison been a thing?
Well, we've been a band for 6 years now.
6 years.
Yeah. So, but Tom and I have known each other for longer than that. We've been together 10 years, and then
oh my gosh,
we're in bands before that, just in the scene together.
So how has Good Charlotte influenced, both like you being a musician and wanting to be a musician, as well as like what you're currently doing with 18th and Addison?
Yeah, Good Charlotte was, the band I listened to that influenced me to want to be a guitar player and write my own songs. Like I said, I was laid up for a while with an injury from sports, and then it turned into this long process of just needing multiple surgeries. So I had nothing else to do with my life but like stay home and listen to music. And I asked my dad for a guitar, and like Good Charlotte was the first band I started learning their songs to guitar and teaching myself how to play. And their songs are just catchy, so melodically it just always stuck in my head. Like Benji's harmonies and Joel's harmonies, obviously they're super in sync because they're brothers, but I always was heavily influenced by the harmonies that were on their records because it was always what I wanted to hear. So I think I've brought that to 18th and Addison more than anything, is just like melody and just loving how Tom and I can connect more melodically with what we put harmonies on, and making sure they lock in just as tightly as Benji and Joel's have over the years. Obviously, they're, like I said, they're brothers and they're family. We're married, so
you're married, so you're family,
So it's all definitely bled into 18th and Addison, and I know Tom's a fan of them as well. But I've definitely I talk about them nonstop. I'm surprised I haven't driven them crazy.
Well, no, I obviously talk about Good Charlotte nonstop, and again, that was kind of the whole reason for starting this podcast was like, you know what, I'm already talking about them. Let's talk about them a little more. So we are going to talk about your Substream article in a bit, but let's dive into the Outfield first. So to me, this song is about feeling out of place, feeling your whole life like you're not fitting in, and then finally finding either that place where you belong, or that thing that just makes the world kind of make sense, or finding a person or that group of people that understands you finally. What's your interpretation of the lyrics here?
It's just that for me, honestly, without even needing an explanation from the band. That's kind of what I had assumed it was about. But I don't know, when you're growing up, especially like Tom and I, we come from different genres of music. We grew up listening to similar music, but at one point or another, you start to feel a little out of place, which has obviously led us to being in the band together. We went through trials and tribulations with other bands and other people. And not only in music, but in our life, in finding each other, and obviously getting married and being in a relationship. I personally have always felt like Tom was that person that understood me the most. And, we were both very kind of misunderstood growing up, not in that like, oh, rebels, like, feel sorry for us kind of thing. But we just, once you find that person that truly understands you and like you can completely relate to and be honest with and open to, it's kind of like this overwhelming feeling. So this song kind of portrays that to me. And it was cool coming from Good Charlotte, because obviously when your favorite band can literally
sings about something that you relate to so much.
So strongly, and can literally put them into perfect words. It's pretty crazy. So that's kind of where I go with it. So it's cool that they've, at least you see it that way, and I'm sure the band has written about that as well. Within the song.
To me, I think, at this point, like before the album had come out, we'd heard Life Changes, 40-Ounce Dream, Makeshift Love, and Life Can't Get Much Better. But and I remember hearing Life Can't Get Much Better, and I was like, all right, this is a good turnout that's making me cry. And then I heard this song once the album came out, and I was like, this is the Good Charlotte that is making me feel like all is right in the world.
It kind of strikes a chord, sort of like Hold On did. You feel completely invested in the lyrics, and even the how the recording came out, as from a musician standpoint, like just hearing it gives you the chills still, and it's awesome.
So I don't know if you got to watch this video that I included where Benji was talking about the song, but for our listeners, there was like a track by track sort of video where Benji talks about the Outfield, and his description in that video was definitely leaning towards it being about, you know, romantic love and being understood in that sense. But I would argue that the song can really be taken in a lot of ways other than that, and in addition to that. I don't know what. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what do you feel it is?
No, I think I can obviously see why he would say it's more romantic,
right?
Based off of like the lyrics alone, which I know you included in your note, an email to me just so we can go through them. But it can also be towards anybody, like if you're a friendship, anything. I mean, it looks like it's really just about him wanting to reconnect, or even just, you can take it that way as, you know, far as reconnecting with somebody that maybe you were always meant to get back in touch with. It could be, again, love. It could be like I was explaining with Tom, just finding that person that you connect with more than you ever have. So I could see why it could be portrayed romantically just based off the lyrics, but you can definitely portray it anyway.
Yeah.
You want.
I feel like there's so many things that like I can think of that, you know, you could relate to this song, but and other songs on this album too. You know, Life Changes, Life Can't Get Much Better, Moving On this album too. But I would argue that in a way, this song almost feels like it's the band talking to their fans.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like, you know, talking about how, hey, we never fit in. You guys don't fit in either, but it's okay. We understand each other. You found your place.
Well, yeah, because even Good Charlotte fans, like growing up on like the forums and the message boards, and that was like a thing. Like, you guys, we all felt so connected to one another, even if we were lost in translation in our own lives. So it's like this band has brought people together. I mean, I don't speak to anybody anymore. I can't even remember any off the top of my head, but like years ago, you know, you meet people in line. Actually, I can think of one person. We met somebody in line at a recent Good Charlotte show that like we still are in contact with. She came on tour with us at one point. So it's like, it definitely brings everybody together. And
wait,
was
that ahead. Sam Warren?
Yeah.
Sam Warren is a friend of mine. She and I, so this is why it's such a small world. Sam Warren and I went to summer camp together in like
no way
2007 and bonded over being Good Charlotte fans.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then we went to see them together on the Youth Authority tour in 2016 in New York, and you know, we're in touch. We talk all the time, and I just got brunch with her a couple weeks ago.
Wait a second, was it the Youth Authority tour that we went to? I don't remember if it was that, because Tom and I went to a show in New York. Oh no, it was Philly that we went to.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Philly, but it was probably that same tour. I don't know. Sam might know better than me. I have a terrible memory. It was right before Generation X, so it probably was this tour. Generation RX.
I know Sam went to a few shows on that tour. I saw them on that tour in New York with Sam, and then I saw them at Starland on that tour, like 2 or 3 days later, probably.
Yeah. No, but she was definitely somebody we met online. I think we were waiting for the meet and greet or the VIP, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just connected, and then we stayed in touch over our bond over Good Charlotte, and she ended up, like I said, doing some stuff for us on tour, and we stayed in touch. So it's the same thing, you know, that. And I also think this song could, you know, definitely be something towards their families, much like the whole album. I mean, they're grown up now. They're family men, they're dads. So, you know, finding their wives could be a thing, and, you know.
Totally. No, and they've, you know, both Benji and Joel are married to, you know, wonderful women. And I watched their live stream today, and I feel like I'm going to say this all the time on this show, but they definitely don't seem to have lost kind of that, you know, connection to what growing up was like for them.
Right. Yeah.
This song obviously calls back to the young and the hopeless. They say we were the young and hopeless.
Yeah.
You know, and it also calls back to their time growing up. But I think that's what's important about this song, and I think why I like it so much, because it's not just like, oh yeah, I fell in love and like it's so great, or I found a place that I belong and it's so great. It's talking about why it feels so big to find that when you haven't always had that.
Exactly. Yeah, they came from nothing. I mean, we know their situation with their dad, and their mom was a superhero to them, and I'm sure they've taken those things, and obviously it's what's made them amazing fathers and family men in general. So it's nice that they haven't lost that. And part of the reason why I love them so much, because they are literally the most, and I've only met them a couple times, but obviously I don't know them.
Right.
But you can just tell they're super genuine people. That whole live stream, they were, saying like, this is how we wrote it when we wrote it on a guitar.
Sorry to interject, but we're recording this on April 2nd, and literally just before Kate and I got on this call, Good Charlotte, Benji and Joel had done a live stream on Veeps where you could buy a ticket and the money was going to COVID-19 relief charities. Right.
Yeah. And it was awesome. They played a ton of old songs. I mean, they played Seasons. They played East Coast Anthem. They kind of started with the first record, made their way to Young and Hopeless, and then they talked a lot in between. So they kind of were like, okay, we gotta.
But I like that. I like hearing them talk, because I like hearing the stories.
Yeah, that, and they were showing, Bench had like a ton of old like flyers and stuff from like 2000 and festival stuff that they had. It was just cool seeing the stuff that they saved over the years to share with us, because they have fans of all. I mean, there's people that just found out about them on this album, cycle. So it's cool for them to be so interested in even showing that and just being so honest and upfront about it. And the whole thing, they were like messing up on guitar and forgetting words, and it was like it was so cool. I didn't care.
It felt very like relaxed and just very down to earth and humble,
just like them.
Yeah. And I mean, I wanted to share just about why I think this song is important to me. And I've definitely in past episodes of this podcast, you guys have heard me talk a lot about how I didn't fit in growing up, and I kind of just never felt like I knew what my place was in the world. And then it really wasn't until, and I loved music. I loved Good Charlotte and all these other bands that I found, but it really wasn't until I was in college and discovered music journalism and photography and eventually working in the industry and touring and starting this podcast, doing things like that, where I felt like I was a part of something. And it's like, okay, for the first time, I'm feeling like I'm doing something. And that's such a powerful feeling. And I feel like people who, maybe things have kind of always worked out for could maybe take that stuff for granted. Like, oh, I'm just gonna like fit in and assimilate. And I'm 28, and like I'm actually pretty outgoing now. Like I'm super comfortable talking to new people, and I love meeting new people. And I go to a show and I'll probably run into several different people I know, but I still do not. I feel like I am like accepted and welcomed, but I still feel like at 28, I still feel like I'm not necessarily fitting in anywhere, but I feel like I do have those people that understand me.
Oh, for sure. And don't let the people that act like they are, fitting in or have a place, because they have a lot of friends and support in their life. Like, don't let it fool you that they don't have something going on, because usually they're hiding behind some type of insecurity, which they would probably get over if they listen to Good Charlotte.
Right.
But yeah, I totally feel that. I mean, even as somebody who's, been surrounded by some good friends and, I have a great family, I obviously found love early on in life, and I'm very fortunate for that. But there's always moments where you feel weak or you feel alone or, just disconnected from everything. I mean, it's just inevitable sometimes, especially growing up. Like, I've noticed the older that I get, I'm not saying I'm old by any means because I'm only 28, but like there is this fear and this anxiety that does happen just in general with life happening and things changing and change in general. Yeah. So I can completely relate to that, and you know how you relate to this song as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I feel like one of the weirdest misconceptions that I had growing up was that, like, okay, all I had to do was like do these things and do this and this and this, and then I would just like fit in and things would be easy from there on out. But like, nah, you know, I still was very obsessed, and I still am very obsessed, obviously, with Good Charlotte, who have never been a band that I think is like cool.
Yeah, people like to like judge you for like in Good Charlotte a lot of the time because they think of like their lives when they were, you know, in 11 or 12 and like how you should get over that. But they were speaking to us then, and they still speak to us now. So
exactly, and I feel like it's starting to become, if not cool, like people get it, you know.
Well, yeah, because the emo nights.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like people as the people who were 12 or whatever when The Young and the Hopeless came out, as we've kind of grown up, I feel like it's, you know, they're kind of becoming more of a, oh, okay, Good Charlotte, like nice. Like you have that band that you connect with, that you love.
Well, yeah. Not only that, but like Benji and Joel are doing so much for new bands right now that people don't even realize that they do. They are the reason that some of their bands are even still releasing music. So
yeah,
they are so now behind the scenes and involved in the music industry that, like, whether you like Good Charlotte or not, you're lucky that they exist.
Well, and I don't know if you even knew this, because I didn't until I happened to, you know, see something on Twitter, but so they did this live stream on Beeps, and they actually created that platform.
No way.
Yeah, I think it's relatively new. I read an interview where Joel talked about it with Forbes recently. They wanted basically a seamless way for bands to connect with fans for different VIP kind of experiences. It seems like the idea was probably some integration in terms of like IRL kind of meet and greets and VIP packages, and I'm sure that will be a thing when that's feasible again. But yeah. No,
I mean, it doesn't surprise me one bit that they did that, considering they're so involved with literally everything. So yeah, that's amazing.
No, which I love that they're, you know, constantly involved with so many new artists.
Me too.
So, Kate, do you have any specific memories or stories that you wanted to share about the Outfield?
I mean, not really. I don't like, I mean, I think you mentioned it, there's not a music video for it or anything. So, I just know the first time I heard it was on that record, like you mentioned, because there wasn't any kind of official like release for it as a single or anything like that. I just remember, you know, the overwhelming, feeling that I had when I heard the song, because again, to mention what I did, like I related to it instantly.
Yeah.
And I remember Tom and I were super excited when the record came out, because we were like, okay, we're a little nervous because
oh my god, I was so nervous for this record to come out. I was like, oh my god, is it going to be like awesome? Or is it going to be like this like exciting comeback record, or is it just going to be like, you know, will they have just phoned it in? But
it was nerve-wracking.
I feel like this record has a lot of heart, for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because like I said, it was a transition for one that weren't playing very much anymore because of the hiatus, and then, you know, they all grew up and, you know, got families and had kids and stuff within that time period, and like even Benji like just had a baby, so
earlier this year.
There was I mean, obviously this is older than his baby, but the whole transition into being, you know, kind of seasoned musicians in that band that you're looking forward to coming back, but then like kind of being nervous about, okay, I'm nervous for them because they haven't done this in a while, and I'm nervous as a fan to like, you know, be let down, but I was not let down.
Yeah. So I have a few more things I want to talk about with this song, but before we go into that, I want to talk about your ranking of Good Charlotte's discography.
Yes.
So, Scott Waldman of Waldman Management has this Words from a Waldman column on Substream magazine that he runs. I did a column with him. We talked about, I think we talked about My Chemical Romance, and, you know, we ended up posting that, like, right when My Chem got back together, very timely. And for one edition of this column, summer 2019 in July, Kate, you and Emily Burke ranked Good Charlotte's discography. So I'm going to read you the ranking you guys had decided on.
Okay.
Probably debate some of them.
That's fine.
Then I want to ask.
I probably will too.
Yeah, and then I want to ask if you still feel this way.
Okay.
So Kate and Emily's ranking. Number 7, Cardiology. Number 6, Good Morning Revival. Number 5, Generation RX. Number 4, Youth Authority. Number 3, The Chronicles of Life and Death. Number 2, Good Charlotte, the self-titled album. Number 1, The Young and the Hopeless. So
I have to preface this by saying we were doing this, Emily and I. So there were some things that we had to kind of like.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to hear what of this ranking, what would you change?
So for the two of us, were kind of hung up on Youth Authority and Generation RX.
Okay.
I did want Generation RX in 4th.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I would have
guessed
about this.
I would have guessed Emily was pushing that because I know she liked that record a bit.
Yeah, no, we both. I love both records. Even more so than Youth Authority, I related to Generation RX.
Sure. Yeah.
Just in general, because of whatever's going on in my life at the time, but I didn't mind either way because obviously, like we've been talking about, Youth Authority was like this resurgence of Good Charlotte and it was exciting. So regardless, I was happy with it. Generation RX, I was like really into the songs and how dark it got, even though that was like a little different for them still, and kind of went back to some of the Good Morning Revival stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, Young and Hopeless, I'm for sure number 1 for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think like most Good Charlotte fans probably would say Young and the Hopeless is their favorite, but I'm excited to like continue doing this podcast and see if people have other like number 1 kind of favorites.
Yeah, and I think 1 and 2 were kind of a toss up too.
Okay.
I can't remember for sure because at the time, you're thinking about it, you're going song by song, you're listening. It's a lot harder to do than you think it is. But looking back at it now, like just based off me like listening to more Good Charlotte even since we've done this, I probably would flop 2 and 3. I'd put Life Chronicles 2nd and the self-titled 3rd.
See, so when Scott had me on his podcast, Waldman's Words, last winter, he, like, his first question to me was he had me rank Good Charlotte's discography, like, worst to best. And I think I also had Cardiology at number 7. But I don't remember the entire ranking, but I know I had Youth Authority as number 2 and Young and the Hopeless as number 1. But if we are going to talk about your list, Kate, and, this isn't a Good Morning Revival episode, but I just want to say I don't appreciate the Good Morning Revival slander. But I get it because a lot of people don't appreciate that record.
I knew I was going to get stuff for that. I actually was thinking, I was like, God, I hope they never read this because I don't want people to think that like I hated that record. But it definitely was not my favorite by any means. Right.
No, and it's a very different thing from that for them. And I get it, even though I very strongly do not agree and do not stand for that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, when you hear, like, the Keep Your Hands Off My Girl, you can kind of even put that in the same realm as I Just Want to Live, like, them being kind of, like, tongue-in-cheek and doing kind of more, like, I guess...
like, dancey type songs.
Yeah, just, like, upbeat, dancey stuff, not so much pop rock or whatever you want to kind of consider them. So I appreciate that album for the experimental end of things. I just wasn't so much a fan of, I'll put it this way, usually all the other records I was able to listen through, like, not skip songs, loved everything. Good Morning Revival, I was not doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I have arguments, and probably this will end up being a bonus episode at one point, but I have long thought that Good Morning Revival could be like a novel or feature film or musical, because I have this whole story of it.
I'd be interested to hear that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I can actually see that, because there are definitely more theatrical vibes on the record. So yeah, I can see that.
Exactly. So let's go back to the Outfield. So I want to talk about some commentary about the song and the record. So per their website at the time, so I actually had to go on Wikipedia, which, you know, had cited from like archive.org, because it's not on their website now. But per their website at the time this album was released, Benji was actually pretty hesitant to include this song on the album because it included lyrics about his and Joel's upbringing. Quote from the website, Benji admits the deeply personal nature of the song, which features lyrics about his and Joel's tough upbringing, a recurring subject in the band's music, specifically their early days, left him hesitant about its spot on the album. And then he says, the bravest thing you can do is be vulnerable. When a song makes my face red when I'm listening to it in front of someone, he says, I was actually kind of embarrassed to put that song on the record, but that's when I knew we had to, when it's that real.
Yeah, I can feel that as a musician for sure.
What was interesting to me about, you know, reading this little trivia tidbit was that, you know, they have so much on their records talked about their upbringing and how it's affected them. And I think I think at first when I read this, I was like, well, why all of a sudden are they so hesitant about it? But, you know, I do know that also coming back after a hiatus, they wanted to do something that was high energy, something that was fun. Because I don't think they would have put something like Generation RX as their like comeback album. No,
I don't think so either. They weren't even planning on doing that record in general. It just kind of came out. Like they were writing and it worked, and they didn't have a plan, which was the coolest thing about it. I think for their first record after a hiatus, they definitely needed to have a plan, and they did a good job.
No, and I think this was, I mean, it was such a great comeback record, and this was such a great song. But, you know, something, and I don't know if you know this, but I've seen, if you read on, you know, trivia about this album, it'll say that like there were 2 songs on the album that they only put because they felt they had to. So do you have any idea which songs they were talking about? Because I don't.
I didn't even hear that. I would, if I had to take a guess, well, obviously there's the interlude, the Stick to Your Guns interlude. I mean, a lot of bands throw in interludes because they want to just like experiment and just kind of extend things and whatever. Who knows why they did the interlude? I don't think they would count that as like a filler or anything. No.
I think Sam Warren has a Stick to Your Guns tattoo from that.
Oh, really?
I believe.
Isn't there a band called Stick to Your Guns too?
Yes, but Sam Warren, if I'm remembering this correctly, and Sam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe got like a tattoo for that, like Stick to Your Guns, Good Charlotte.
I believe it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Cars Full of People.
That was kind of my guess. Like, if I could guess, it would be like Cars Full of People would be one. But also, like, you know, one of my college friends, I remember talking to him when this record came out, and he was like, "Oh, Cars Full of People is like my favorite song on the record."
Yeah, I mean, people have all types of different opinions. That's why doing that ranking was so hard, because you're literally, it's like picking, you know, like choosing a least favorite kid. Like it's so hard because you love them all. And honestly, anything Good Charlotte puts out, I enjoy. Like, I'd pick Good Charlotte over a lot of like new stuff that's out, to the point where like I still listen to old records before even wanting to hear a new record from a new band. So in that way, it's totally difficult. So it's cool to see everybody's different opinions on like what songs they liked and disliked. People probably have issues with 40 Ounce Dream too, because they're like, it's definitely more like a little weird for the album, you know, compared to everything else on it. But
it's about
it was good.
nostalgia, you know. Free on Stream is about nostalgia, which I feel like this is a very nostalgic album.
For sure. I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, so one other press piece that I wanted to note. So the Heart of the Music did like a song feature about the Outfield. And they called it A Comfortable Hug from the Good Charlotte we all know and love.
I love that.
I love that so much.
It's so accurate.
No, it really is, because that's what we've been saying for the past, half hour. Just is that this song captures like what was special about that about the band at that time, and still is. Right.
I completely agree. It's everything that you could have wanted from Good Charlotte, again, from coming up from a hiatus.
Yeah.
Just as a album, but more so just the song in general. They just didn't disappoint, and obviously everybody expects bands to just kind of constantly put out, their best record a million times when they put out new records, and that's not how it goes. It was nice to see the maturity in the songs and like the content, but overall it was a Good Charlotte record that we all totally fell in love with. So
no, absolutely. And I feel like, having been a fan for so long and having been like so eagerly awaiting a return, I was all the more excited, I think.
Same.
And like all the more appreciated this.
Me too.
So there was no music video for this song, but as I was thinking about, this podcast that we were recording, I was like, God damn it, this could have made such a cool video. Like, they could have shown flashbacks to when they were younger, or they could have had, little kids playing like kid versions of themselves.
I know.
And then compare it to now. It would have been so cool. And I feel like I'm going to, because obviously I talk about the music videos when there's a music video for the song we're discussing, but I feel like I'm going to end up with this whole like pitch deck that I'm going to just like email over to them at some point. Like, listen, these songs never had videos, but you should make music videos for these songs.
I'm sure there's like a hardcore GC fan out there that is good at editing that should have already done this. If I knew, I probably would have. If they've put out tons of pictures and there's stuff definitely floating around that you could put together, which I would love to see, because like I said, this song definitely encompasses all that.
Even if it was like a slideshow type thing. Anything. I know. I'll have to put the call out on social media or something. See if anyone has. There is, and I'll tell you more about this after we finish officially recording, but we do have an episode where we are going to talk about a very cool fan-made music video for a different song.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So, I did find a few bedroom covers of this song on YouTube, but honestly, nothing really notable. But they have played it live several times, and this is such a fun song live. I mean, you saw them, we both saw them on the Youth Authority tour.
Yeah, I cry when I hear the song.
Same. There's like a handful of songs that they play that I like know I'm gonna cry every time. And this is one of them.
Not that this is on this record that we're talking about, but Self-Help, I cry every time.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. So I know that this is not like an old song really, but how has The Outfield held up for you over time, over, the 3-4 years since it's been released?
Yeah, I mean, I still put it on. I still, like I just said, find myself getting like a little emotional listening to it. And I mean, again, like we were saying, there's so many things that happen in life, and, just different changes that you go through as you get older, or just experience new things, and other people come in your life. And like for me recently, I just got married. My life is changing. We're starting a new chapter.
Congrats again.
Thank you. So yeah, it's like this song can totally kind of stand the test of time, no matter what point in your life you're in. So it's still very much important to me.
For sure. So I just have a couple questions that I like to ask everyone to wrap things up.
Okay.
Yeah. So what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed, or has that changed?
definitely hasn't changed. If anything, it's changed in a good way, a more positive way, where they've meant even more. Because of like, you know, I think at one point Benji said they didn't know if they were going to make another record, and they still did, because they still have that like passion and that fire to want to do Good Charlotte, which is cool coming from a band who's 24, you know, been together 24 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, that's definitely not changed. Over the years, it's changed for me. I mean, obviously when you're a kid and you're trying to learn how to play music, they mean a lot to you because it's what you relate to, and you're angry and you're, you know, whatever. And then, you know, they taught me how to play guitar basically. So
wait, so I have to ask, what was the first Good Charlotte song you learned to play on the guitar?
Oh God. Probably Seasons. Okay.
I think Seasons was probably mine too, because I had an acoustic guitar before I ever had an electric.
Same.
So Seasons was, you know, and that was how I learned to do like hammer-ons and pull-offs. And I could do a, you know, decent 13-year-old bedroom version of Seasons. And I was very proud.
Exactly. So that was definitely, it was an easy one too.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
Motivation too was probably another one that I learned, but yeah, so from being a young kid, feeling connected to them in that way, and then as a musician, them just not only as a band, just seeing the longevity of their careers and how they respect each other in a band, not only because obviously Benji and Joel are brothers, but they all are just so close still.
I mean, they were talking about that in the live stream today, with that, you know, we're so lucky that like we're all just such good friends.
Yeah, and it's so important, especially being in a band. You have to kind of find that like ride or die group of people. I mean, luckily, again, Tom and I are
married.
But like, you know, we want that in a band as well. So they're inspirational to us every day for that reason. And just as people, I mean, you can just tell they're genuine people that are good dudes. And that's hard to come by these days, especially in the music industry and just the entertainment industry in general. So they're constantly like inspiration for me as far as just how to treat people and how to be around your fans of your music, and what, you know, you would want as a fan of them. Is what we try to do for our, you know, fans of our music all over the place. So they definitely have influenced me in tons of ways.
I love that. So Kait, do you have any last words about the Outfield, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself and 18th and Addison?
Well, if you haven't already given the Outfield a shot, definitely listen to it, because I think we've given plenty of reasons why it's amazing. Yeah. Good Charlotte, I mean, what else can I really say? They've changed my life for sure. And it's so nice to talk to you and another, you know, hardcore fan. Without feeling silly. I know some people like to make you feel that way, but I've never felt silly talking about them. No one is
gonna feel silly in comparison to me.
No way. And I don't care. There's a reason why they're still around. There's a reason why their fans connect with each other. And as far as 18th and Addison goes, obviously if you're not familiar with our band, you can find us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, 18thandaddison.com. We are actually doing a live stream ourselves coming up, just because of everything happening. I know this won't, hopefully by the time this comes out, this is all over, but we definitely like to do stuff like that all the time, and we'll be touring soon. So check it out.
Kait, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where can people find you and the band on the internet?
So like I said, 18thandaddison.com is like our main website. On Instagram, it's 18th Addison. Twitter is the same thing, 18th Addison. And Facebook, you just type in 18th and Addison with the and symbol, and you'll find everything.
Awesome. Kait, thank you so much for talking about my favorite Good Charlotte song with me. Listeners,
no problem.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You just heard us talk about the Outfield. Next week, we're going to talk about a song from Generation RX. I'm Molly. I'm your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me at Hudelson at MHUDELSON. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the show, leave reviews, comments, and tell all your friends to listen. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Talk to you next time.